You are listening to the Gritty Podcast, where we talk about all things gritty. There's a sweet new product that's hitting the market right about today.
It's crazy. We've been working on it for a while.
Man, all it would have taken is just that it was on there, center and flush, and problem solved.
By the time I finally got the thing connected and going, the ram had already walked behind the trees out of sight. It looked super clunky. It looked super prototype, but the functionality solved those problems that he mentioned.
All right, folks, welcome to the Gritty Podcast. I am your host, Brian Call, and I'm joined right now by Brad Hunt. And our episode we have for you today is with Nathan Goodworth and Eric Chesser, and we talk about a new cutting-edge device for the hunting industry, a new Digiscoping device, and it's pretty revolutionary.
Yeah, it's not just any.
No, you're going to want to listen
device.
to this. This thing is going to make waves. It's a really sweet new product.
Yep.
On this episode, of course, we're going to talk about sort of the existing stuff on the market and how this new device came to be. We're going to talk with Nathan, kind of the origins of the company and his plans for the future, what this product can do, what problems it solves. You know, Eric Chesser has been using other products for a long time. Everybody's digiscoping through their spotting scopes.
And everybody has the same story of those small issues they have.
Yeah, everybody has problems, and this solves them. So you're going to enjoy this podcast. Check it out. Use the code GRITTY if you do like the product at Ollin, and you do get excited about it like we are. And then use the code GRITTY over there, because Ollin is a partner of Gritty now, and together we're going to try to really get this thing out.
Yep.
So check that out. Before we get in, we're doing a huge giveaway. Before we get into the podcast, I want to tell you about. You have about 2 weeks.
Yep. Until July 31st.
Well, yeah, until July 31st to win a PSE bow, a dozen Black Eagle arrows. We've got a brand new Leupold rangefinder in this giveaway. We got Peaks trekking poles, Peaks headlamps, Stealthy glassing pad. It's a big giveaway.
Yep.
Big giveaway. Not only is it a big giveaway, it's also a cool deal. So for every purchase at Mountain Ops, using the code GRITTY between now and July 31st, you get 30% off everything you buy at Mountain Ops. Not only do you get 30% off, you get free shipping.
Yep.
Not only do you get 30% off and free shipping, but you get entered to win the bow, the arrows, the rangefinder, the whole kit and caboodle, the whole package. So right now is your time. Go load up on Mountain Ops. Like I said, every order gets you entered to win. And
they got some new flavors that just dropped, like sweet tea. Probably going to be my favorite. No,
I'm hoping so. So check that out. Use the code GRITTY over at Mountain Ops. That's huge. And then we always want to remind you to check out Peaks Equipment. They're a great partner of ours. If you don't have a set of trekking poles, they have the carbon upper and the aluminum lower. I got a pair here that I've had for about a year and a half now. I beat the crap out of them. There's a lot of reasons why this is the ideal pole for hunters.
Right. And
we did some podcasts recently about that, broke it down, but it's a lot more complex than you think. But everybody should have that pair of Peaks Gators. I think they're probably the best on the market.
Right.
And that's with confidence I say that. So, and then also we've got a sweet headlamp over at Peaks where it's just built for the backcountry hunter. Again, another product that we feel like came to market to fit a specific need for hunters. And we've talked about that on previous shows, so I won't get into that. But use the code GRITTY over at Peaks and get yourself all that new equipment before the season begins. There's just necessities that all hunters, especially backcountry hunters, should have in their arsenal. And finally, don't forget to check out Stealthy Hunter. And I'm just going to plug one or two items right now. If you go to Stealthy Hunter, of course, Ryan makes great rifle covers and great glassing pads, and everybody should have those. But they also have their nutritional products. And one of the ones I've been using a lot lately is this CBD intensive gel roll-on. This roll-on gel. I roll this stuff on my sore muscles, arms, legs, calves especially, around my Achilles and my calf muscles. I rub this stuff in, and I don't know what it is. It's kind of like your Bengay type stuff, but it soothes those muscles, and the soreness decreases significantly overnight. So this is a pretty cool product. I wasn't sure at first because I'm a skeptic, but it turned out to be legit. The other product that I am absolutely addicted to and is a big part of my daily routine are these CBD gummies that are for sleep support. And so this is what I've been using at night a lot. Before I go to bed, I take these sleep gummies, and I'll take one out of the package here for those that are watching on the video here. And you can see they're just like this little, my wife is not a fan of the gummy itself. I think it's a delicious gummy myself. It has kind of an old school gummy, like a natural gummy to it. But who cares? I mean, it's a great little chewable. You smash that thing, just one, before I go to bed. It's got 25 milligrams CBD plus 10 milligrams of CBN per gummy. I don't know what all that means, but it's super clean product. You've got lemon balm leaf, passion flower, chamomile flower, hemp-derived cannabidiol, CBN and CBD. And all I know is I take that thing and I sleep like a baby. It's not melatonin derived, which is melatonin is a natural hormone that you produce. That's one way to help you fall asleep. This is a different product than that. All I know is I was skeptical at first, like usual. Been using it for about 3 months, and man, I take this and I sleep through the night. I don't have to get up and pee at least once. I'm an old man.
I'm almost
50. So, I take one of those and I'll sleep the full 8 hours, get up the next day and feel very refreshed. I don't take it, and I'll probably get up about 3 or 4 a.m., have to take a leak, fall back asleep. I don't feel as good in the morning. So check it out, folks. That's what I use. That's what I like. They have other products as well. Check them all out and use the code GRITTY over there. It's all good stuff. So anyway, without further ado, we'll get into the podcast. Let us know in the comments below. Like and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're listening on YouTube. Leave us a comment or a review on our iTunes channel if you listen there, and share it with your friends. We appreciate you. Thanks for tuning in. Stay gritty. All right, folks, welcome to the Gritty Podcast. I am your host, Brian Call, and today my guests are Eric Chesser and Nathan Goodworth. And there's a sweet new product that's hitting the market right about today that is long overdue. Super innovative, super cool product. And today we're going to talk about that on the podcast. Before we get into that, give us a little background. Everybody listening ought to know who Eric Chesser is. But Eric, just a quick rundown. Who are you?
Make it short and sweet. Eric Chesser, digital content creator. Love to hunt, love to shed hunt. Capture films and share it with the world and whoever's willing to watch it.
Yes. And then Nathan Goodworth.
Yep.
What's your background?
So business is my background. Love startups. Been with a startup for about 5 years now. Finally got to a position where I was able to transition out of that startup to pursue something that I've had as a side hustle for a long time now, a couple of years. Excited to finally bring it to market. And so, business is my background. I grew up in Southeast Idaho, small town called Shelley. Grew up in the outdoors, love the outdoors. My dad, he comes from a family of 10 siblings, so they used to hunt to live. They'd live off the meat. And so I was fortunate enough to have a dad who fell in love with that and was ingrained the outdoor world at a very young age. And so fell in love with that. And now I'm full-time working on Ollin, which is what we're going to be talking about today. And excited that we're finally here. It's crazy. We've been working on it for a while. So
Eric, you guys knew each other for a while now. I'm new to this whole relationship here. I got the story. I got some stories on a little bit of the origin story of Ollin. But before I want to get into that. But let's just I don't want to leave people. I don't want to bury the lead here. What are we talking about? What's this product?
So it's a new Digiscoping adapter that we developed in 2020. I drew out on a once in a lifetime bighorn sheep hunt in Idaho, and I've been Digiscoping for years, but I never really did it as used it the way it needed to be utilized. It was more just like, I like to do it. It was a hobby. I'd occasionally throw it in my pack and use it. But when I drew out on this hunt, as exciting as once-in-a-lifetime hunts are, there's a lot of pressure when you draw out on these once-in-a-lifetime hunts to try to, take advantage and kill a big mature animal, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so it was the first time I wanted to try to capture as much content as possible. And judging a bighorn sheep compared to like an elk and deer that I've been chasing my whole life, a lot bigger challenge, right? And so anyways, there was one particular trip I was out, the Lost River mountain range in Idaho, and 10,000 feet in elevation, miles in, glassed up, biggest ram that we had seen, giant. And I was with my dad, called him over. I had my spotting scope and a different Digiscoping adapter that I was using, and the ram was kind of walking towards some trees, and by the time I finally got the thing connected and going, like, the ram had already walked behind the trees out of sight, and I never got to see him again.
We've all done that. We've all had that experience. Lots of that experience. Eric, you were using different adapters. I mean, I remember weren't you kind of an OG when it comes to?
Yeah, it's kind of funny flashing back to like how much Digiscoping has evolved over the years. But yeah, me and some partners early on were doing a product that actually attached your digital camera to the spotting scope. So there's a lot of gluing, there's a lot of different testing out, but it's been fun to see it evolve. To
the evolution, yeah.
And go to smartphones. I mean, we're able to capture and share so much content through our smartphones now, which is so cool. That's one reason why this product is so cool. And, Nathan will tell you the story of why it's important and why this product is so different and some of the problems that it solves. And again, going back to all the history I've had over the years, not only being in the business, but also using different stuff. Like, I've got a really good idea of like what works, why it works, and how some things can solve different problems. And, so Nathan's going to introduce the product and tell you more about it. But I'll tell you now, like, it solves a lot of the main problems that you have with some of the other products that are on the market right now.
Who doesn't have a Digiscoping setup nowadays? If you got a spotter, I'd venture to say in today's modern world, especially where we share so much of our experiences online with one another, I don't really know anybody that I hunt with that doesn't have some kind of Digiscoping adapter set up for their spotter. If they own a spotter, they film their hunts they film animals through their spotters, judge them, zoom in on them, take photos of them, the whole kit and caboodle. They do the whole thing. So this is a product that pretty much everybody sees value in or wants or needs or and it's a pretty low price point generally because we already all have the phones.
Yeah, you got the phone.
The most expensive piece is already bought. You got the phone and the spotter.
Yeah, that's usually the order, right? You get one item, the scope. We typically have a phone just because we need it, use it, and then you get the adapter setup. It's usually not backward, but the other way.
There's some main pain points, though, with everything that's on the market today. Like, there's some real annoyances with what there is available today. So you came out with something now, Nathan, that changes the game. It's totally different. How did that come to be?
Yeah, well,
and why didn't somebody come up with this a long time ago?
When people see this product, they're going to be, it's one of those where you're like, why didn't I think of that?
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of a no-brainer. Yeah, and it all started with that frustration I had from that bighorn sheep hunt when I saw that ram, and I literally still have the video today.
How old were you then? 14,
this was
15?
2020, so I was 28.
You look like you look a day over 19.
Yeah, I was tempted for the podcast to like put some fake beard on just to age me a little bit, but yeah, unfortunately I can't grow these nice thick beards like you guys. So
I was like that for quite a while. I think I was 30 when I finally started to grow some hair on the face. It was late and coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how old are you actually?
I'm 31. Yep.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, young. So
don't always feel young, but yeah.
So you came up with this idea though.
Yep. Yep. From frustration of that hunt, it was actually just a couple of months after that. Like, I couldn't stop thinking about that and that challenge I had. And like I said, I have video where you can literally see the phone like falling off my spotting scope, and you can hear like my frustration. Mm-hmm. And so that was fresh in my mind. And literally one night, like, I had a dream that I was working on a product. And when I woke up the next day, I couldn't remember the details of the dream, but my mind was in innovation mode. I work from home, and so I ran out, dude, still in my underwear, sat at my desk, and I drew this concept of, this Digiscoping adapter, but all magnetic. So you could just put your phone on and off your spotter like super quick, super easy. It would give you that really nice alignment. Anyways, I drew this concept up, and when I looked at the piece of paper, like, it looked super terrible. But when I looked at it, I just kept getting that impression, like, do something with this. Like, don't let this just
Where
be
did
an
the idea
piece
come
of paper.
from? Like, did you see some magnet?
Let's go back real quick, Nathan, because he shared this story with me in full detail, and I don't want you guys to miss out on any of the good stuff and the important stuff.
Yeah.
But again, Nathan had this ram tag, right? So this is one of those once in a lifetime type of hunts, and he's got this ram out there where he's already packed in, he's committed. And if you can't capture the quality of that ram that you can go back and play back and zoom in and see, is this a ram I really want to pursue? Yep. Like, that's a 10-second, 5-second, maybe even 2 or 3 second moment that all he needed maybe to capture that footage, good quality footage to study the ram.
And you need that so you can like zoom in, enhance it, look at it.
So, so again, this is Nathan's story, but he shared it with me, and it's like he wasn't able to capture that. So now you're like in this, like, that looked like a good ram. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to capture any content of it, really good quality. Is it worth the commitment to come back here? Should I be scouting other areas? So that's an important part of the story that really makes sense of, like, we need to fix the problem, right? We need something that's faster. Mm-hmm. And then that's kind of...
Yeah, and especially ram hunting, it's like you're 10,000 feet in elevation in this area. You're a ton of miles in, so like you either commit to an area or you don't. There's no like easy bouncing around different mountain ranges, and that's exactly what happened. Is looked awesome, but just missed that footage because it was just the equipment I was using was so complicated.
Before we move on, Eric, describe to me what the problems are. Like, a lot of people, if they're just slightly into this, they may not really know, but what are the issues that you're running into with current Digiscoping products?
Well, I would say there's a couple things that are very important that maybe a lot of people who are beginners or even users of Digiscoping may not understand, and that's the distance from the lens of the optic and the lens of your phone or your camera lens. So that's very, very important to nail that. And then the quickness of it and getting it centered. Okay, so if anyone's used Digiscoping setups at all, you'll notice if you put your attachment on and your phone on, what you want is a very, very sharp black ring. And that's the silhouette of the scope. So it needs to be centered. It should be dead center. And if it's ever canted at all, you're going to get a blurry edge and a focused edge. Mm-hmm. And now,
I see that all the time in footage that people share. And stuff.
Yeah, it's like one side's like a black dome and the other side's the deer. And it's like this wasn't set up in the first place correctly. Yep.
Yeah.
So the struggle is to get it centered and in a timely manner, right? Because especially with your scope, when you're using it on a tripod, and if you touch it just enough, it swooshes down, and now all of a sudden you've lost that moment. Now you're trying to capture the deer or the elk or whatever it might be back in the scope. So time is important. Centerness is important, and the depth from the lens to the scope is very, very important. So those are three things that
you think about it. Anytime you're looking through a spotter at something long range, you tweak that thing at all, and it's out of frame. Right. And so the other thing about other adapters are a lot of them they're built so you have to twist it on or push it on, and when it's built that way and you're looking at something hundreds of yards away. Thousands. Even when you're trying to twist it, thousands that you're twisting or pushing it on, that animal goes out of frame, and then you know how hard it is to try to find
Sometimes
it.
Especially,
you can't.
That's
especially
the thing. That's
if it's
my
moving.
biggest fear. It's like I've taken my phone without the adapter, and just like I don't touch the scope, the spotter, so I can try to get some video of it because I'm not sure I'll find it again.
Exactly.
Because certain terrain features and when it's super dense, it's like it's just a wall of green. You're trying to pick out where it is, but your scope's on it, and you don't want to touch it because you don't want to lose it.
You don't want to. One little bump and it's gone. So again, you're losing time. And that's frustrating because again, you only have so many moments, before that deer goes into the tree or over the ridge. So speed and all that, that's very, very important.
You really have to touch, generally, even if you have, because some you just press on with the camera right there, you just smash it onto the spotter. Other ones, there's the adapter's on the spotter already, and you twist it on. But all of that requires some sort of motion.
You touching your
on
optic.
the spotter, the optic itself,
which increases that chance of bumping the thing.
Right. Yep.
So those are some of the most important things I've learned over the years with Digiscoping, for sure. Yep.
So Eric, as you're sitting there going over, what are some of the thoughts you've had as you sat there working with it that you kind of wanted, your wish list of things you wanted, like with your Digiscoping setup?
Just how to improve those areas, right? The two, not so much the distance of the lens and the scope. I mean, if that's dialed, you're good. Mm-hmm. But the two things you want to improve is quickness and being center every single time to avoid that fuzz, and it just doesn't allow your camera to focus. That's why so many people have Digiscoping footage that's blurry, because it just can't. When that lens is at an canted, you're always going to get some of that black dome in there. And
what's funny is when you watch somebody who's like a real pro, they have been using their janky Digiscoping device for like years. Mm-hmm. And so they know exactly that it's canted, it's sort of twisted at this angle, but they're so quick, and when they touch it, they're like, touch their phone so careful. You can see the pros.
Barely touch it, and kind of hits. Yeah. But in moments when you're out there, I mean, every situation's different, but for someone like myself, and especially when I'm self-filming, I typically don't pack a giant lens for like kill shots for across the canyon type of rifle hunts. And you know how it is when you're running gun rifle hunting or you see an animal, you got a quick moment, and I prefer to capture as much and everything as I can.
Yeah.
Those are the moments that you see like people rush it, right? You see those blurry kill shots, and it's just like, man, all it would have taken is just that it was on their center and flush and problem solved.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you capture those moments too, like it's so fun to be able to go back and like relive that and watch it. And I asked myself as I was trying to develop something that was better, like, why haven't I been taking my current adapter on every single hunt? Because I love watching it. Mm-hmm. And it's because of all the frustrations that he mentioned. It wasn't convenient for the run and gun type of hunter who was always on the move trying to capture those animals that are also usually always on the move. And so
I've been considering, with my iPhone, we filmed a hunt last year that we produced that was like almost all iPhone. And I stacked it in there. I put it in a series. It was with Adam Weatherby. Adam shoots this beautiful big red chocolate bear. And almost the entire thing is filmed on a phone. At least Adam's portion of the hunt is, including the footage captured of the kill shot with the Digiscope adapter. And it made an excellent film. Right. I mean, the story, the audio, the video was really good. I did some color grading and some fancy tricks to it to make it enhance a little bit. And I'm like, dang, at the end of the day, this is a solid story. This is a solid little film.
Yeah.
And it made me consider on some of these super remote, rugged hunts that we do, attempting to just do the whole thing with a phone and make a whole series that's just filmed on a phone.
And the reality is that's what most people are doing because number one, they don't know how to work the camera. Number two, they're not as fit as Eric and Brian and can haul all that extra equipment up a mountain. Ridiculous. So they're just using their phone for it.
Yeah. So. Yeah. No, and now that Ollin has come on the scene, now I'm sitting here going, I might do it. In the past, I wasn't going to. The Digiscoping adapters out there just are, I don't believe I can get the shots I need when I need them. Mm-hmm. And now I'm like, hey, this is a whole new ballgame.
Oh, yeah.
So let's get into this. So you have the dream, which is a little bit weird. And then you take, this reminds me of like Back to the Future with the flux capacitor, and he's like, oh, and it hits you in the night, right? And then you draw it up and stuff. So you do that. And then in the end, you end up with what you've got. A lot happened in between. You want to share a little bit of that?
Yeah, I mean, my background's business marketing. I've been with another startup that I joined about 5 years ago. I was like the first full-time employee, completely unrelated to the outdoor industry, but it was a company that had a prototype and a patent, and I had to figure out how to validate the product in the market space. I had to figure out, how do we raise capital? How do we create enough value for customers so they want to buy it, and all of those little things. And so what was really cool is I was able to apply all of that knowledge into trying to dial this in. And so the first thing I did was I wanted to get, like, after I drew it on a piece of paper, I was like, okay, I got to build an actual prototype that I can test and try and use. And so I went to Walmart right away, bought a bunch of glue and magnets and phone cases, and was trying to piece something together. Was not working. So then I spent hours watching YouTube videos on how to develop and design these CAD files, these engineer files, so I could do a 3D print, and hours of just designing the most basic thing that anybody with experience could have done in about 5 minutes. After hours of doing it, I finally had something I was like, okay, I think I just need a few small tweaks and I can get it there. Yeah. And I had a cousin that's really good at that kind of stuff, met up with him, and within 5 minutes, sure enough, like, he made those tweaks for me, went and 3D printed it, threw some magnets in it. The first time I tried to put it on my scope, it was like too tight. So I spent hours like hand sanding the inside of this thing to make it fit. But when it all came together, it looked super clunky. It looked super prototype, but the functionality solve those problems that he mentioned. And when that happened and I put my phone up to the spotting scope, I was looking at it, and then I was looking at, the nicer looking one, the one that I had spent a lot of money on, and comparing the two, I was like, that looks better, but this works better, and that's what I'd rather take to the mountains. And then it was like, okay, I've got to go take this now and go see if I'm the only one that's experienced this, or if other people have had some of these same challenges.
Right.
And that's when I went out and started networking with a ton of people in the outdoor space. Yeah. Not just like influencers and things like that, but just people that hunt. Yeah. And it was the same story every single time. Everybody's had those experiences.
Yeah. How did you meet Eric? What's this story? Like, I don't know this story.
So him and I just connected through social media like years ago. I was messaging him about a Wyoming deer hunt that I had, so we connected through there. But where we actually met in person was because of Ben Dedamonte, Shed Crazy. Yeah. So my wife, she's the type of person that she loves gift giving very meaningful things. Yeah. Right? And so I'm the type of person, I'm very practical. Like, Eric needs a new phone, sweet, I'll buy him a new phone for a gift. My wife, like, she wants something that has meaning. So in 2017, November, she was getting ready for like a Christmas gift for me. And I had started following Ben before he was even doing full-time social. Yeah. And, I just thought he was a funny guy, like, pretty cool, the content he was sharing and stuff like that. And this is before he actually was doing it full-time. Anyway, my wife somehow got connected to him and surprised me for Christmas and lined up a shed hunt with Shed Crazy. And so this was clear back 2017. She put this whole video together. It's like a minute long. She's showing clips of me like growing up shed hunting, and then at the end there's this picture of Shed Crazy's face on this video. And she said, "You'll be hiking with this guy." And I was like, "What?" And anyway, so then she got his number. We connected, and calendars for the next. So we were going to do a shed hunt the next spring, so 2018, and we just could not line up calendars. Either he was too busy or I was too busy, and so it took us until 2021 to finally get a shed hunt lined up. Yeah. And it just so happened where that was the year that I was working on prototypes and doing this kind of stuff and looking for validation. Went out with Shed Crazy and showed him what I was working on, and he's just like instantly same thing. The other adapters, I just don't love them, and this solves a ton of problems I have. So then him and I were collaborating for a while, and obviously he's got a great relationship with Eric, and then we essentially connected through that way, so through Ben.
So Eric, when you got your hands on it, first impressions?
First impression was like, let's take it outside and throw it on a scope. Let's find something and use it. And I feel like we haven't really described the product yet to the audio listener.
That's probably a mistake. They turned it off already.
Yeah, like, what is it? What is it, right? But first impression is like, again, it's one of those, when you have the setup, which I'll let Nathan explain really what it is and how it functions, and you throw it up there, you're just like, you're kind of shocked, like, that easy. Like, it's that easy. How it's centered every time. It's vertical or horizontal perfectly every time. And again, it's just one of those moments where you scratch your head, like, why don't we think of this? How has this not come out yet?
Right.
And the first reaction is just it's a problem solver.
It's kind of shocking when I first saw it. Like, why didn't this get invented a long time ago?
I know, right? It's like you're trying to connect your device to a scope.
Right.
What's the easiest way to do that?
I know.
And this just doesn't ring the bell, like for most people when you think about it, and that's why it hasn't been invented yet.
Right. So, when you come up with this design, we're sitting here talking about, why didn't this just get invented a long time ago? Was it a lot harder actually than we're making it sound? Like,
to build the prototype, it wasn't super tricky for me. Like, a lot of the challenges came up when I was trying to figure out, how do I get a patent around this concept that's different than other Digiscoping adapters? How do I build the right trademark? How do I figure out manufacturing, supply chain,
all the business stuff?
Yeah, all the business stuff, and that's the kind of stuff that I eat up. Because I love.
But the product
startups.
stuff kind of was like, hey, this is a clean, simple idea, and the execution was pretty darn basic.
Yep.
That's cool. So one of the things, so let's talk about the actual adapter, because there's a lot of cool, unique features that it has that you're not seeing in other setups.
Yeah. So the way we wanted to build it, based off of the frustrations we were having, is we wanted to build it, number one, in a way that you could just always leave it on your optic, and there was no fiddling around and, causing some of those pain points that we've brought up. So it's a 3-part system. You've got what we call our universal cap, our protective cap, that's built to go over the eyepiece adapter, which is built specific for each optic that you own. It's compression fit. It's got a little logo icon on it, so it'll indicate which direction you want to place it on your spotter. So we had an antelope hunt this last fall, doing a lot of window mounts through the vehicles. You're angling your spotter. Yeah. You just put this straight, even if it's angled, and you're going to get that center fit every time. So you've got the scope adapter piece that goes on, the spotter or the binos. And then the last component, I guess the third component, is the phone piece. So you've got a phone case with an adapter that's got that center ring around the camera that you're going to be using when you're digiscoping. Yep. And when you want to start taking pictures or videos, all you got to do is go like this. And within a second, you're not only connected, but it's centered, it's ready to go. You can be recording, and you don't have to touch your spotter. Your phone just magnetizes and centers every single time. You can shoot the video portrait mode like this. If you're doing vertical because you're putting reels or stuff together, you do it like this, and same thing, it'll just connect right on center every single time.
Yeah, there's really only one option, and that's dead set. That's center. So for the listeners who aren't seeing the video version of this, imagine your adapter that's going to slide over the eyepiece of your spotting scope is custom fit for that particular scope. That is meant to stay on your spotting scope. It's got a very comfortable rubber eye ring around it, so you're still going to use it functionality perfectly as if it wasn't there whatsoever, and it's not intrusive. I've used it on the mountain. You can look through your scope, you can scan, you can do everything you would with your spotting scope and leave that on at all times.
Not only that, the eyepiece protector cap is pretty amazing, because how many of yours just get abandoned, or you don't put it on there and it's exposed, or frankly, the way that this is magnetized and you can just twist and it kind of just the magnet sort of
you don't need to pull, right? A lot of adapters out there now, you're constantly wiggling it back and forth,
exactly,
pulling
because the eye cap, just like the phone case, is magnetized.
Yep. Yeah, the magnets have
that's the secret sauce, right? For anyone who's listening who's still kind of wondering, well, what is it? It's magnetic, and the phone case has got the magnets, the eyepiece has got the magnets, so that when they're aligned, the magnets within the product, you don't see them. They're tucked away. When they're aligned, it's either vertical or it's horizontal.
Yep, exactly.
And to detach them, again, this is the trick of it, is it's not pulling it off or wiggling it off. It's simply just twisting those, which disengages the magnets, and then you just release it just like the cap the cap is the same.
Yeah, if you try to pull this straight back, it's got literally like an 8-pound pull because we need it to be able to support some of those bigger phones on the market.
So you just do a slight twist.
You just twist the disengage the magnets, it comes right off. And then, I mean, you can hear that click and see how fast it snaps on there. And that's the same. The cap works the same as the phone. It just clips right on there.
Genius.
It's genius, and it's so smooth and it's so fast.
So how many guys do you know, Eric, like that walk around with a phone case that's built for their Digiscoping setup, and it's got this giant like bulge out the side, and they put it in their pocket? Like my cousin, my hunting buddies, almost most of them, they walk around 24/7 with their phone in their phone Digiscope adapter case, and it's like, what you've got over here is pretty dang streamlined. I could rock that all day long in my pocket with all my stuff that like I wouldn't need to necessarily swap it out like I have right here.
Right.
Like I have this OtterBox case, impact resistant if I drop it or whatever. But I like a lot of my buddies, they just rock their Digiscope adapter case, and I'm like, that thing is a giant, bulky setup, and what you have here is slick.
Yeah, it's pretty slim. We tried to make that super...
I think you need to make it slicker. Can you get there?
Yeah, I think we can. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we will get there. I mean, that's going to be a big part of what we do, and that's why
I see it?
That's why we're super excited to finally get this into the market, because the way it's built right now and designed, in my opinion, obviously I'm biased, so much more premium and solves so many of those big challenges that you have. And the second we get it out to you guys and have people send us feedback, like, it's just easier for us to innovate quicker and make it better, make it smoother. And one other thing, Brian, that I love about this is the way we designed this setup is Eric and I can be on the mountain together and be rocking completely different phones and completely different optics, and it's all universal. So like his phone, I'm an Android guy, and I'm going to get a lot of booze for that in the podcast, but he's an Apple guy, and I can be filming with my Android on this. He can put a completely different phone on here, and same thing, it'll give you that center fit. So it's got that universal aspect.
Yeah, right. And that's when you're with your group of friends, you're always like trying to get a little bit of phone scope, or maybe afterwards you got to airdrop to everybody.
Taking turns, putting it on different devices, and then you got to like jam the piece on, and then you got to stick yours on and start over. Look, this case, I'm holding it in my hand right now, your phone case, and this weird Android, which is foreign to me. But
makes you feel a little more manly, though, doesn't it?
I don't know. Makes me feel like I'm dealing with some kind of Linux. I got it in my hand right here. This is pretty dang streamlined right here. Nothing like what all the other devices are like. This feels solid, looks nice, it's pretty slick. I'm really curious like how this is going to evolve, because I could see you just improving on what you have right here.
Absolutely.
But this is phenomenal as it is. I mean, check that out. Like, it just feels cool.
Yep, it's a sleek.
That's a nice case.
Good material.
That's a nice case.
It's not bulky.
Yeah.
It works good.
How did you come up with because there's a lot of different phones on the market, trying to build a brand. This is from the business side now. I get it that, you can build an adapter for, the receiver portion for each spotter. Pretty slick. It seems like you could put that now on just about any optic, whether it's on a gun or a bino or something else, right? So that's pretty cool, because I can just see it growing. But phone case wise, that's a lot of phones on the market as well. Yep. So how do you meet the demand for that? How do you know, how are you from the business side developing those, and what made you settle on that particular look and feel?
Yeah. So number one, the first thing that we were one of the big things we were trying to do with everything, from the product, from the functionality, from even like our packaging, which we've tried to make super nice and slick, is we're trying to position ourselves as a premium product in the space, one that's going to solve some serious problems. And and super durable for people like you that throw it on the ground, right when you get it.
I'm not gentle with anything. Ask Lampers.
And so being the premium product in the space, obviously we're going to bring phone cases that are premium. So any of your iPhones, any of your Samsungs, from the various newest models from the iPhone 13 Pros all the way down to the iPhone 10, like we've got cases ready to go for any of those. Same thing with your Androids, anything from the S22s, the new ones, all the way down to the S10s. And so any phone older than that, I mean, you can go get an S10 on KSL for pretty cheap if that's what you wanted, and you're going to still get a nice camera. Because the biggest thing for us is we wanted people to be able to capture not only the footage quickly, but also have that footage be high quality. And so that's kind of what we're launching with from the phone side. But honestly, we're going to rely a lot on people's feedback to see, what spotting scopes do we want next, what binoculars do we want next, what rifle scopes do we want next. And that's why we're so excited to get this out there, because we've got prototypes for a lot of different optics, Brian. And the second we can get people buying this and supporting this, then we can just grow faster and bring better, innovative, disruptive products to the industry. So,
wow, Nathan, you've really come to the table here with something pretty sweet. So what's your vision, man? Like, here you are with this. Obviously you've taken you probably could have brought this to market a while ago.
Yeah.
Because I would imagine that
we've had product ready to ship for a little while now, but like I said, my background's business. I love startups, but I'm all about building the right foundation before launch. You get one chance to launch a new business, right? And so I wanted to do that the right way. And so wanted to get the right team involved, and super excited about the team that we've put together. We can talk about that on a completely different podcast, but I had so many other goals and ambitions that we wanted to accomplish with the business. And so everybody's going to see on social media when we launch this podcast, on Instagram and things like that, like our company name it's called Ollin. Sounds a lot like ALLIN, all in, but it's actually spelled OLLIN. And I'm the type of person, I'm very driven by purpose, by vision, by mission. And I knew this would be a great product solving a real problem, but what other things can we do to bring value to this industry and to the people that I love, right? Because that's the one thing I love about the outdoor space is it's people with very similar passions, and everybody's trying to get to the same place, right? And so we wanted to come up with a company name that was a little bit more broad and universal so that we could innovate and bring other products to the market, sell apparel that has the logo Ollin on it. And so when I was going through that process, doing my due diligence, trying to come up with a name, writing down a vision and a mission statement, I was reading this book called Aspire. It's by a guy named Kevin Hall. He's actually from Utah. And the book's all about the power of words and how they influence our lives. And so he's traveled the entire world and visited like a whole bunch of different cultures and learned all of these different powerful words and how they influence our lives. And so each chapter talks about a different word. And one of the chapters, I was reading this when I was trying to come up with a company name, and one of the chapters in there was Ollin.
Yeah.
And I read it, and it's an ancient Aztec word. When a great storm and earthquake would shake the earth, these Aztecs would yell or scream in urgency this word Ollin. And what it literally translates and means is it means to move and act with all your heart right now. And that was the exact feeling that I got.
That's sort of like spelled ALLIN as well, like in the English form.
Going all in, right?
There's a lot of overlap here. That's interesting.
And that's the same impression I got when I drew the concept on a piece of paper, is like move and act and do something with this. And then the more I started to read and understand the meaning of Ollin, like it's on the Mexica sunstone and signifies the moment when somebody becomes aware of what they can become. And there's no more liberating feeling than when somebody actually realizes their true potential. Right. And so Ollin is what we're trying to push, not just because of the innovative product. And so our mission is, through our innovative products, our strategic partners, and the content we share, we want to connect other people to their passions and empower them to move and act with all their heart. And so that's kind of where Ollin came about. Again,
I'm kind of laughing to myself because when I met you and we sat down and we were talking, you were showing me the product and everything. First of all, I was blown away. and it's a very there's sometimes you feel like there's some divine providence in what you do, because you look back and you're like, how did this come to me?
Yeah.
How does this happen? How does this relationship forge here? And how does this one come there? And it's like almost that though it was meant to be. Mm-hmm. And when you talk to me about this whole thing and we discussed, your visions and stuff, I went home and I was thinking about it, and then we got in contact later, and I kept accidentally using the term, like, I'm all in, dude. Like, let's go forward. And I'm like, it's funny that all in is a phrase. I didn't realize I used it as much as I did for certain like conversations until I realized like the name is all in too. And it brought this self-awareness of the term. And I'm like, man, I use that all the time. That's exactly what the word means. It has a lot of power behind it. Like, that phrase means something to me because I use it. It's not something I don't use, Mm-hmm. It's like, I'm all in.
Yeah. I mean, imagine what life would be like if, no matter what it is, not even just your career or business, but in your relationships, in your health, in your fitness, like, what would life be like if we could all figure out how to go all in?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, I definitely feel like there might have been some divine intervention there, but like everything was just kind of coming together. Yeah. And so, that's how All In came to be. So
Eric, you get exposed to it, you get behind it. What are your thoughts on what's going on here? What he's brought to the market?
Well, first word that comes to mind on the product is it's a game changer. I think there's a lot of people who are going to enjoy the product that have had other products, but I think there's still a lot of people who are maybe young or just getting started who may not have optics yet that we're going to be able to introduce this to for the first time. So they're going to have a better experience the first time instead of the years and years of struggles that we all had. So I'm excited about the product. It's a product I use a lot. I use Digiscoping adapters a lot, self-filming and scouting and even shed antler hunting. I like to document. I just love to document and share. And the fact that it goes straight to your phone, it makes it easy for me to share on social, which I love and enjoy. But the story of All In was shared with me. Nathan, we sat on my porch on my couple cushion chairs out there, my poverty chairs, I called them, until I got cushions on them. And he shared that story, and I'm big on the mission statement, right? Like, I didn't know that when I started business at a young age. I didn't understand the why, the mission statement, the purpose. I just knew, at least for me, like, I just loved sharing, inspiring, and just like doing content. But as I've grown in my entrepreneurial journey, it's like you realize how important your why is and what your message is. And sure, it's a great product and it could sell and impact a lot of lives. But when you have a team behind it, like we have now, like Nathan and his message and his true belief that he can provide products that can help people achieve their true potential and go enjoy life more, that stuck with me more than the product did, because I'm huge on the message. I'm huge on the why and what is the purpose behind it. Yeah. And it's not money, it's not fame, it's not to grow something, like a big, well, you want to grow your social platforms, but it's none of that. Like, Nathan's very passionate about the product and the message, and that's the wave I want to ride. Yeah. Yeah. The product is great. I could speak for hours on that, but the All In, and like you said earlier, some things just kind of happen for a reason. And I've experienced that in my life. And I am a true believer in manifestation and visualization. And it's like, maybe Nathan didn't know when he started this how it would happen and what the name would be, right? But like, he had the vision, and things just sometimes just fall into place. But it's not by accident. It's when you're moving. It's when you're acting, right?
I think it's interesting. I had a friend who's been a mentor of mine for most of my adult life, and he said, you can look back on the past 10 years or 15 years, 20 years of your life, and if you look carefully, you'll see patterns of where things that were supposed to happen happened because you were trying to do things the right way, and they lead you down this path. And when you look back, you can spot all those times where it does feel like there's some divine intervention going on, some providence involved that puts you where you're at in life today. You know, like there's a purpose behind it. That just this just reiterates that kind of story. It's very fascinating. You know, you talk about the other products, but Ollin is now in position as it grows to bring a whole bunch of new and cool, innovative things to market. And I feel like as much as I'd like to be the guy that invents this, I'm not. I'm just not.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm a different guy.
And in full transparency, like technically, like Digiscoping was invented. What I came in and did is innovated. I innovated on a solution that was out there and made it so much better.
Okay, I suppose, but it's still like a layer of an invention to me.
No,
like,
I see what you're saying. We invented the name. We invented Ollin.
Yeah, but even the method, the mechanism, like it's like, you know, people invented something to get you from A to B. It was a horse, and then it was a bike, and then it's a car. But I wouldn't say they're all the same,
right?
Even though they get you from A to B.
Completely
like this is pretty amazing to me. It's pretty cool. It's funny. I was just editing a film before I came over here. My friend Pedro Amprero from Spain. We were on this bear hunt, and his bear is sleeping in this little depression, you know, and it's been there for hours. We stocked up on it. We're in rifle range. He's set up. He's got his gun all dialed. He's got the scope on it, and he's filming his phone. He's filming the bear in the crosshairs through the scope of the rifle. And it's the coolest shot. And I'm like, oh man. And I'm messing with the footage, but I swear he was back there for like forever, like trying to capture this shot, because like you said, Eric, it's got to be a certain distance, it's got to have the right angle, it's got to be just right, it's not sharp, it's got the halo on one side, you know, all that stuff. What are the odds of creating something like that?
Very real
for like a rifle scope.
Yeah, no, it's
because I would think because if you have an adapter like this, I'd put one on just as a scope cover almost. You know,
and think how fast it'd be, you know, versus some of the other items that are out there. I haven't messed with a lot of the rifle scope stuff, but the ones I have, I never used because it was just too much of a headache.
Right.
Yeah, and one thing that I'll say, like one thing that I feel like I'm pretty proud of is I've been able to build this off a very low budget. Like I've bootstrapped a lot of this. I love building and creating something and proving that you can do that without unlimited resources, right? Yeah. And so our vision as far as products go is, you know, we want to start with spotting scopes because we know that we can solve that. It's a problem that I was having. It's part of the story. But we've got rifle scopes, binoculars, and a whole bunch of other things in the pipe right now. And we just need the support to be able to bring those to market and make what you just said a reality. And so that'll be a big part of what we constantly do is innovate. And I fell in love with when I started like actually diving into like equipment for any outdoor stuff, whether you're hiking or hunting. I fell in love with the founder of KUIU, Jason Hairston. Because of the way he educated me and consumers about like equipment and technology and why it's important in the outdoor space. Yeah. And his vision to just constantly have that relentless innovation, like that just became like a huge part of like who I am and what I want to do. And so that's a big part of what we're going to do at Ollin is take that and constantly be innovating.
Like I was going to say earlier, I have my skill sets. Yeah. Inventing this isn't my skill set, right?
I'm the same.
And you look at Hairston, you know, and I'm like, he did some things. I mean, let's face it, he was at the ground level of Sitka when Sitka came out, and then from there he was at the ground level of KUIU and took that to the next level. So many innovative ideas and just industry-wide shifts in what we used for outdoor clothing in hunting all occurred, you know, under his watch and influence and stuff, whether it be where he was at Sitka and then how he evolved later on. And then other people started to come up with cool new ideas as well and springing off of that. But there are people out there like those Steve Jobs, you know, some of those people they're visionaries, you know. Me and you know a few, and I'm just like, I'm not that guy. I have creativity. It's just not in that vein, but I think it's really cool to be part of the ride.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm the same, man. It's like over time you start to figure out who you are and you become self-aware of what you're good at, what your strengths are. inventing items and like getting them from an idea to a product is not mine. I'm too impatient to sit there and go to
dog chews.
I did dog chews. Those were invented already or whatever. No, but like it's funny because when you were talking about that, Brian, it really made me think of something that I read recently through some self-development stuff I was going through. Mm-hmm. Is there's two things, right? There's like thinking of an idea, and then there's taking action. And everyone can relate to this. I know everyone who's listening to this can relate to this. Thinking about it is fun, right?
Yeah.
Brainstorming. Oh, we could do this. Oh, we could do that. No matter if it's a product, a film, a hunt, a new business idea, it's so fun to think about that. And that's why so many of us fall into that fantasy phase of like how much fun this idea would be. There's a line where it becomes not fun and hard, and it's called the taking action part.
Right.
And that's where you set yourself up for, not set yourself up, but that's where you now have now it's a possibility to fail, whatever your definition of that is. And now you're opening up the door for criticism and naysayers. So it's so fun to dream. It's so fun, right? Everyone can relate to that. It's once you take the action is when it's hard.
Go all in.
Once you go all in, that's the moment that now you're opening the door to being criticized on your idea or criticized on your film or whatever that might be. And that's why so many of us, right? We pull back and you start to have negative self-doubt and like, well, nobody will like it and whatever else. But the dreaming phase is the fun part.
Right.
Taking action is where it gets hard.
Absolutely. That's why I'm so impressed. I'm so impressed when people are able to pull it off. So recently I did a podcast on, I came back from my bear season. I had a good 30, 40 days of time in the mountains, in Alaska too. And I dumped the gear out and I went through it all. This is what I took. This is what I liked. This is what I didn't like. This is what performed well. This is what wasn't so hot. This is my system. Went through it all. Most people love that stuff. Mm-hmm. It's real tactical, gives you just nuts and bolts on how you could do the same thing. And by being out there as many days as I am, I get to really prove whether something works or doesn't work, or I see a need and then I find some product that can fill that need up, right? And address it. So most people valued it, but I had a couple of people get on there and be like, man, you guys just aren't as tough as the old dudes, like, man, I mean, if we had that gear when I was young, I mean, this is ridiculous. Like, get back to just surviving and just, what, nothing wrong with, wool and,
and blue jeans.
Yeah. And I was like,
all you need is a canteen and a Snickers bar. What's going on here?
Seriously.
So I sat there and I read a bunch of these comments and I think to myself, I do remember, and Eric, I'm sure you can attest to that too. Look, I had the all wool $20 Walmart tent, peanut butter and jelly for 7 days. I went through my share of misery when I didn't have any money. It didn't keep me from hunting. Mm-hmm. I did it anyway. I just didn't do it as well, as efficiently. When I look at things today, like this adapter with Ollin, other products that have come, you mentioned Hairston and Kuiu and such, and I'm like, man, we have such epic gear nowadays. Like, so we have some incredibly awesome equipment that we get to leverage. And here comes another one. It just continues to evolve. And to me, all that does is it just helps me enjoy the outdoors a little more than I did before.
Elevates the experience.
Yeah. Especially when you can actually get a video of that ram before it gets away and then scan it.
And we did get it done that year, by the way. Yep. Got it done. Got a nice ram. Not the one that not my number one hit list, but
I don't see a ram in here.
He's missing it. It's right there on the table. Why shoot him when you just find him dead?
Dude, that thing is ridiculous.
That's a cool piece.
Yeah, I have had zero interest to shoot a sheep until I found that head.
Yeah. What changed?
He got the new adapter. Now he's ready.
I think just the sheer bone mass, didn't that get your attention?
Yeah, the weight of it. Out of all the sheep, I think the Rocky Mountain sheep are cool just because they're so stout and they look buff.
Dude,
they look cool.
Yeah. I'm the same. Yeah, I think the same.
I like the terrain they live in. And before, as you can see, if you're watching the video version, we're sitting here in the South Slopes, my man cave. It's full of antlers. I am fascinated with antlers, and those are horns. Not as cool.
Right.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
Can't find those every single year, huh?
Yeah. And honestly, like, I mean,
the cost. We were talking about how.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been able to do it if I didn't pull the tag.
I was in a trailer.
I grew up poor. It was never an idea of like, oh, I'm going to go on all these sheep hunts. Now I could see it be as a possibility, through network or maybe getting an Alaska style hunt. One of those tags is I'm only going to get through a draw. Like
right.
I have no hookup on bighorn sheep. So
me either. And
I have 0 points on
it's so hard too, because as much as I'd love to do one, unless I get lucky like Nathan and draw something pretty cool, it's hard to justify given the fact that I can go to New Zealand or something with a bow and shoot like 3 tar in the mountains, or stag or whatever. And then you can always do like some of these giant mule deer that people take. They're in the cliffs just like those sheep. They're right there next to the sheep. Mm-hmm. So there is something about it, but I am fascinated by sheep in general.
For me,
just like goats.
Yeah,
just because it's a different animal, I want to do it, but I couldn't see myself doing it very often. If I've never done it, and I don't know how. I'm trying to make it happen someday before I die.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, and people aren't going to love me for saying this, but like the year before I drew my tag, so in 2019, so the chance of drawing this tag in Idaho, it's like 2 to 3%. Very slim.
Yeah, right.
And the year before I drew, my dad drew the same tag. So I got to hunt bighorn sheep back to back. And for me, it's not even going to shoot the bighorn sheep. It's just being in that country that's that high and watching the behavior of those animals, because they literally walk around like they just own everything. Like when you find the bigger ones too, they're literally just bullying the little ones around. Yeah. And it was so cool to experience that.
I've been fortunate to hunt a lot of late season mule deer in country like that, and they're right there next to the sheep. Yep. So I get to watch them both.
Yeah,
and there is something about a high country mule deer in, it's getting pushed down out of the mountains because of the weather in the wintertime. That makes it a good substitute for sheep. It's like the poor man's mountain hunt, because just about everybody can get a nice muley tag in sheep country.
Yeah, that's typically what I'm chasing. I just got fortunate.
Yeah, someday. And then I'll use my Ollin Digiscope.
That's right. Yeah.
So how can people get one?
So go to allin.co. So allin, OLLIN.co. And we're taking orders now. We're launching, as I mentioned, we've got a lot of optics and a lot of different things in the pipe right now ready to ship to customers. We've got any of the new Vortex razors, HDs, both the Swarovski ATX, STX, and then also the Swarovski ATS, STS. And then we've also got the Maven S1A. Those are all ready to go. We've got some Vortex Vipers that are going to be coming soon. The Leopold SX5s and SX4s. Those are all coming soon. And like I said, we're excited to get this thing going so that we can just get this to people's hands as quickly and as efficiently as we can. And so, support us. Go to allin.co, get one bought, and we'll get you better products quicker and faster.
That's pretty sweet.
Right before the fall hunting season. Just in time.
Just in time. Folks, go check it out. We'll put links in the description field of the YouTube videos if you just want to go there and check it out. But it's just allin.co.
Yep, .co.
Folks, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you. Stay gritty.